We have come here to Waterside for the presentation by the two finalists, if you will, for folks who have responded to the city's request for proposals for what to do with Waterside. For lack of a better name, I will say one proposal is Cordish, the Cordish proposal. The other proposal is the Lindsay proposal. We're going to take about an hour and a half if it takes that long. Each presenter has been told they have 45 minutes. We'd like you to work with us. This is the first time the City Council is seeing this. This is as close as we can get to getting you timely, transparent information as we get it. So the Council may have a couple of questions because we're seeing it just for information purposes. We're not here tonight to debate the pros and cons of any proposal. We still have the manager who will be sorting through all of this and make recommendations to us. To the extent that the Council has any questions at all, I would ask that they just be for information purposes and not for anything other than that. Would not like to telegraph to either one of the proposers the Council's position on the proposal. We certainly wouldn't want to handicap the manager in his discussion with the proposers, and I think you can understand that. We do have a number of folks here tonight. We are not going to hear from the public on this matter. And so, but we do appreciate you being here. We're glad to hear from you later, to tell you the truth. So with that, the first folks teed up was the Cordish proposal, and we're glad to hear from you. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having us down and being given an opportunity to speak to you about our proposal. My name is Reed Cordish. I'm a Vice President of Development of the Cordish Company. I'd like to first introduce other members of the company that have joined me here today. Michael Stoltz is a development director for the Cordish Company and has been very involved in putting together this proposal and would continue to stay involved in this project ongoing, along with myself and the other executives and professionals that would be assigned to the project. Megan Slattery is the Cordish Company Director of Marketing and handles our large-scale downtown projects across the country. And it's also my honor to introduce my father, David Cordish, who I'll introduce in a little bit more detail in a few minutes before he says his remarks. We thought that it would be, if it's okay with the council, best to introduce ourselves via video, and then we'd get into our remarks, if that's okay.
Yes, sir. It's okay.
There's nothing we can't talk about that the video isn't going to do.
Here we go.
Megan, is there anything? We're going to commence with our remarks, and if we have a chance at the end, we'll come back to the video. I'd like to start by introducing the chairman of the Cordish Company, also happens to be my father, David Cordish. The Cordish Company is a multi-generational, family-held, private business. My father is our president and chairman. I'm also honored to work with my brothers. The three of us are vice presidents within the company. My father has been running the Cordish Company for the past 40 years, in which he's taken breaks from running the Cordish Company to also serve on the public side. So he is an individual that understands both the private development but also the public side, where he's worked for two presidents, President Carter and President Reagan. In his role as chairman of the Cordish Company, he's been instrumental in developing some of really the leading large-scale downtown public-private developments anywhere in the country. He's a true visionary in that regard and has created a culture within our company that I think is what sets us apart in development. So without further ado, it's my pleasure to introduce David Kordish.
Good afternoon or evening. I guess we're pretty far down the road of afternoon. As Reed said, I'm the chairman of the Kordish Company, which is 103 years old at this point, and the company was founded by my grandfather, Louis, and my dad, Paul, succeeded him and worked full-time till he was 93 years old. I took over, as Reed said, in the late 60s, early 70s, and have been chairman ever since. And the fourth generation is Reed and his two brothers. When you are a privately held company that's been around for a while, you approach projects maybe a little differently than others do. We build them from scratch or remodel them. We design them, we finance them internally ourselves, and then we manage them, and then we keep them. And we have dozens and dozens of projects around the country, some of which we've had for 70 or 80 years, for 50 or 60 years, for 30 or 40 years. And when you have that kind of an ownership mentality as a developer, you approach things in a little different way because you know that you're going to be with that project. You're not going to cut corners in the beginning, and you're not going to cut corners or do deals for tenants or tenant spaces that you think harm the project in the long run. So we have that perspective. And it's one of our traditions. I wouldn't say it's every single project, but it's one that we're pretty proud of, that many of our projects, many of them, have, under some previous ownership, under some previous developer, failed. And we're brought in to take it over, frequently by a city, by a state, by a county, by an Indian tribe, you name it, but public sector, to revitalize it and to make it either great for the first time. Many of them that fail don't have the long history that Waterside has had, so that we have to really create it from scratch. Others we've got to bring back to its heyday. But I could take you around the country, and I don't think we have enough time. We've only got 45 minutes, and go project by project. And many of them, you would see, have the same history and the same problem, same situation all of us in this room are facing today. You have a project that needs a complete revitalization. But as you'll hear from Reed, who's going to get into the particulars in a minute, we don't think it's a project that should be discarded. We don't think it's a building or a site that should be discarded. There's a lot right about Waterside. There are things that we're going to change if we are fortunate enough to be selected by you. And we're going to open it up, and we're going to make it a people place, and Reed will detail that. But the bones of this building belong to the public. They have historic significance to the public. They have memories to the public, and there are things that should be capitalized on that were done right at the beginning and just need to be refreshed now. If I had to give one single hallmark of us, which probably distinguishes us from 99% of the developers in the country, especially today, is we build out of our own equity. And so our commitment to the city is that if we are selected, what we are proposing to you, we will simply build it out of our money. We don't want the city's money, and we don't need a bank's money. It's not to say we never go to a bank. Sometimes when our projects are finished, they're completed, they're leased, they're open to the public, sometimes then we will go to a bank and put on financing. But what we do is build them out of our own cash, and we're fortunate to do that, to be in a position to do that, and especially in the last 3, 4 years, 5 years, what many people call the post-Lehman years since their collapse in New York and Wall Street. The banks are very stingy with money, and you better be in the position that we're in. And maybe it's because we've been around 100 years, or maybe it's our philosophy, but that's our commitment to you. And it enables us to go much quicker, and certainly with much more certainty. And again, let me just repeat it. We don't need a check from the city. We don't need a loan from the city. We don't need anything from a bank. We will commit to you to build it. I'll just give you one example. We are about to open right near the Baltimore-Washington Airport, if any of you ever used BWI, about a mile from there, part of the Arundel Mills Mall. We're building almost it's a little over $600 million casino retail entertainment project. And we made this exact commitment to the state of Maryland when they selected us, and it was a very, very, very hotly, heavily contested license because it's valuable, and it's in a great area of the state of Maryland. And we said to them, and I'll never forget the panel up before us, David and many of these people have known us, you know, all our lives. It's very difficult today to finance this magnitude of casino. It's more than $500 million. How do you know you can get a loan? And we said, I don't, but we will build it. And we've delivered it as promised, and we've done it with our own funds. And that's the same commitment I make to you. I think another, I'm just going to try and hit a few of the highlights of the history of the company, and then Reed will really get into the specifics of what we will do here. We do more public-private development than, as far as I know, any developer in the United States, where some public entity has an RFP like this, or usually just simply calls us, but sometimes it's an RFP. And that is a process that you need to be used to dealing with. And it's a process where you have to be open to the interchange and the interplay that goes on in a public-private partnership. It's different than simply doing a private development. We have dozens of projects that are just private. We buy land, we build the building or whatever it is we're building. The public-private process is very different because it's extremely dynamic. It would be very, very foolish of us and dumb, really, to think that we can go into jurisdictions around the United States and simply tell them we know best. This is exactly what it should be. Because obviously there will be people either in the council or the mayor or out in the public here today or in other government agencies that are going to have ideas that know this community better than we could ever know it, that will interplay with us as we go forward. And that is a process that you've either done countless times or you haven't. And we've done it over and over again. I love it. It's not the easiest way in the world to make a buck doing public-private. It's easier simply to go build a building. But we find it very rewarding. And when you take a project, I've been on the public side, as Reed said, both in 2 presidential administrations and in Baltimore City as chairman of nonprofits, which have had a lot to do with the revitalization of our downtown and our harbor. Our corporate headquarters is located and is one of the prominent buildings in the Baltimore Inner Harbor. And any of you, whether, again, you're in the audience or you're on the stage, the platform, that you're coming up to Baltimore, stop in and see us. It's called the Power Plant. It's right in front of the aquarium. And it's shown We haven't yet made this thing work completely, this slide thing, but we've got that one up there, and that's the power plant on my left. And you'll see Phillips Seafood, which has been our anchor now for a little while, not as long as the Barnes & Noble or the Hard Rock Cafe. And then our corporate headquarters are the whole building above it. But public-private is special, and we think we do it well. We've been doing it for many, many decades, and it rotates on, revolves around input from the local community because it is a public-private partnership. A couple other things, and I'll turn it over to Reed. Just one final thing on public-private. When you have a project like this that needs a reworking, it needs a renaissance, what we have found when we've been brought into cities and projects like this is you need a fresh broom. It's one of the reasons that we've been able to succeed, is that we come in fresh and we have new ideas. And I think partly the problem here has been, and you've had a very reputable local firm that had the management and the leasing for almost throughout the whole 10 years through the 2000s. It's time for fresh ideas and a different approach. Some things we're going to keep, and the building we're going to keep and change, but the way you're going to tenant it and the way you're going to expose it to the public, the way the free spaces are going to be orchestrated, has to be a different approach. We were asked to comment on our financial proposal, and I've sort of alluded to it already. It's fairly simple. Right now, it's a project that is barely, if it is, breaking even for the city. It's got about $2.5 million of revenue coming in and about of expenses, and if you take all the taxes you're collecting, it has historically in 2010 balanced out. The problem is that it's in decline from a revenue standpoint, from the city's perspective, so that it is forecast, if it isn't already, to be a net drain on the city treasury. Our proposal is that when we take it over, from that moment forward, there's no more drain on the city. It's up to us to carry the project. It's not only up to us to rebuild it, but it's up to us to carry it. And what that will result in is the hundreds of thousands of dollars of taxes now that you collect from various sources related to this building, which are now used to carry it for you, will now just go to the city treasury. And that's our proposal. It isn't complicated, and as I said, there's no request of the city of money. Just the opposite. There was an advisory panel, and I was reading this on the plane coming down, of 5 people that recommended to you all how to put together the RFP and what should be done with this building. And in reading these 5, I'm only mentioning it to you because you might want to go back to it yourself. These are independent consultants that the city hired. You will find that on almost all of the recommendations to you, our proposal hits on the points that they touch on: adaptive reuse, et cetera, et cetera. Let me close by saying we've had our eye on this building a long time. We're familiar with the area. We've developed in this general area, not in Norfolk. And it's extremely exciting space, and it's extremely important to the city where it's located. The city is also one of your, you've done terrific public-private work down here. We're very familiar with the developer, the Taubman Company, who's done your successful mall, which was an incredible public-private transaction that very few cities, if any, of 20 times your size could have pulled off. And when we go, we're asked into many, many more projects than we can do. There's only so many we can do. We only pick a couple every few years. We look for a city that works. And the Taubman Company, which has done your mall, they're probably the best mall developer in the United States, if not the world. They're partners of ours. We did a major project together in Charleston, South Carolina years ago. Some of you may know it. It's called Charleston Place. And it's a 5-star hotel and tremendous retail on the entire bottom level. It did a lot to bring back all of Charleston. We did that together in 1983. And so we talk all the time, and they've described to us how the public-private process has worked here successfully. That's one example. I know others, but that's the people that we've partnered with. So this project has the ingredients we're looking for. It's great dirt and a great location and a great building which needs to be reworked with a city that knows how to do public-private. So we look forward, hopefully, to working with all of you. I'm going to turn it over to Reed now, who will get specific.
Thank you. I wanted to also introduce another executive with the Cordish Company that's with us today. His name is Rich Burns. He's our Director of Architecture and Design. One thing that's of note is that the Cordish Company is fully integrated. We have every discipline within our executive ranks to pull off every phase of a development process, be it design, be it engineering, be it construction, be it leasing, marketing, and ultimately operations, which is so integral to a project of this nature. You can't just develop it and then collect rent. It's an ongoing, living, breathing thing that has to be taken care of, marketed, and operated to the highest possible standards. That's what we do as a company. Although we have every discipline internally within the development process, that does not mean that we don't hire terrific companies and consultants to help us on each individual project. And they tend to be different for different projects because they tend to be local. They tend to be from that area. We can provide them the guidance and leadership and experience that we bring to bear from our projects that we've developed around the country, and they bring to us the sensibility of what works, both from a feel standpoint, a look standpoint, and a style standpoint in the particular market that we're developing. So we would be bringing onto our team the best local consultants that we could possibly find within the design community as well as the construction community. As we move into the construction process, one of the commitments we make as a company, and it's very important to us, in some cities it's a requirement and in some it's not, but is that we reach and exceed minority participation goals in the development process. That's an extremely important part, we think, of a public-private process of working with the city, and something that we would absolutely commit to in Norfolk like we do across the country. My father referenced the building that's in front of you on this slide where our corporate headquarters are. It resides in Baltimore's Inner Harbor. It was originally a power plant that serviced all of downtown Baltimore as a coal-burning power plant. It ceased to be functional and sat fallow for 30 years before Six Flags came in, a public company, created an indoor amusement attraction, did not work, went out a year later, and sat vacant for another 10 years. And we came in at that point. We were active in the development of the Inner Harbor in general, and at the request of the city, and created what you see in this slide, the power plant project, which really helped continue the revitalization of the Inner Harbor, brought it further east than it had ever been before. We then subsequently, a couple years after that, brought it further north than it had been before with the development of Power Plant Live, entertainment and retail district that we did, one of the first true commercial successes in Baltimore to exist off the harbor, 2 blocks north of the harbor. Those projects, Power Plant and Power Plant Live, are now both 15 years old. They're more successful today than they were 15 years ago. Last year, they were number 2 and 3, respectively, in the most visited attractions in the state of Maryland. And that's something we're extremely proud of. both their success, but more important than that, their longevity. And we can point to that across the country, whether it be Baltimore. It's nice in our hometown where our headquarters are to do that, but we can also point to it in Houston with our project in downtown Houston, where we took their old convention center and converted it into a thriving entertainment and retail project. In Louisville, Kentucky, which is now over 10 years old, where we took a failed indoor mall and converted it into 4th Street Live, another thriving district. Or in Kansas City, Missouri, where we created the Power and Light District, an 8-block revitalization of their downtown. As you look across the country at these different projects, you start to almost be taken by the fact of how dissimilar they are from one development to another. They don't look the same, neither in architecture or materials, layout, or design. They have very different tenant mixes, and they operate in different manners. They're about the opposite that you could get from a cookie-cutter approach. There is, though, some common similarities that I think are incredibly important and incredibly meaningful as we talk about our waterside proposal. And that's that at their core, they create central gathering spots for their communities that they reside in. The public spaces, if you will, are as important as the tenant spaces that comprise the project. And we spend more investment up front and more time ongoing in those public spaces than I think just about any other development company that I have seen. The reason being is that for these projects to be what they should be, to be what Waterside, I believe, once was, is they do become the gathering spot for the community at large, a place where they come to celebrate special events or just on a Saturday or Sunday morning with their family, a place that they're proud of. That's the role our projects play. In doing so, they become not only a vital part of that community, an important part of that community, but they become a regional draw as well. And because our projects are unique, because they incorporate experience and entertainment, they tend to draw from an extremely wide radius. It's not uncommon to see people coming in from hours and hours away. And that's a real calling card of our developments and something I can point to and city officials can speak to in all the cities in which we've developed. The other aspect that I think is a similarity of them, because as I mentioned, we bring in local consultants. We think that an answer that works in Baltimore may not be the answer that works in Kansas City and may not be the answer that works in Norfolk. Oftentimes it's very different. But the elements that are the same, the central gathering spot, the living room, if you will, of that city, and then the commitment to quality. Quality of design, which Rich Burns and his team heads up. Quality of the tenant mix is obviously vital. The importance of creating the common areas, which I referenced earlier, and the quality of how you market the district as a whole and those common areas in particular, and your long-term commitment to operations, quality of operations, whether it's how the place is kept secure and safe for its millions of visitors, to your willingness to reinvest on a yearly basis. It's not a 10-year basis, it's an annual basis. To, as my father referenced, an unwavering rule that you'll only lease to the best possible tenants that will mean something additive to both the project and the city in general. I'm going to show now some slides of Waterside Live in particular, and then I'm going to follow that up with slides of some of our existing projects because there are things that we can garner from them. And I'll try to get into as much detail as I can. That being said, and I want to reiterate what my father said, I've been the development director on many of our large-scale development projects, all of our live districts around the country. It's been my honor to have served that role. I would be so for this project. I'd be with it from now until as long as I'm working at the Cordish Company. That's well past opening. That doesn't falter. That type of commitment doesn't change. But I want to without further, I want to get into the specifics, and that'll help illustrate. The first image, and there's three of Waterside in particular, and I'm sorry, now I remember what I was going to say. Apologize. I wanted to reiterate what my father had said, which is, although I will be there from beginning to end, and this is why I can speak to it so well, it is an iterative process. It's a process based on conversation and dialogue. We have a lot of experience, and I believe as much expertise in this type of development as anyone. But that said, it's a process that will evolve. And the one thing I can promise, there will be consistency that stay. We're going to create great gathering spots. There'll be an energy and an excitement of this project that'll be palpable. But it will evolve as time goes on. This first rendering, and we have three of Waterside in particular, three images to go through, one rendering and two site plans, is a rendering obviously from the water. And what you start to get a sense of is when we talk about quality of design, we use great materials, quality materials that are in keeping with the city fabric. So we look to find what exists around us, what materials are being used in the city and in buildings around us. We try to incorporate that in, but then we animate it and electrify it with incredible signage, with great lighting, with great landscaping, with audio and visual state-of-the-art techniques to make it an animated, exciting, vibrant project. The materials speak to the daytime. You walk through in the daytime, and it's a welcoming, warm, inviting space. And when I start talking about the tenant mix, you'll see that the daytime has great uses to draw families and great family activities. And then at night, it starts to take on a different level of excitement. It starts to animate, and it starts to energize in a very quality, substantial way. And you get, I think, some sense of it in this rendering, but it's only a rendering. When we get to the pictures of the other projects that are in place and existing, you'll get an even stronger sense of that, and I think maybe you did in the picture of the power plant itself. One of the things that you might be able to notice on this rendering is that we're proposing to truly open up the building. And that means several different things. I'll start with an easy one. We're going to take the existing balcony structure, which we like, and greatly expand upon it so that you'll have large balconies on the first and second level that wrap around the building, because we think this should be a truly indoor-outdoor experience with great gathering spots throughout, great outdoor seating throughout Waterside Live. The second way, and more substantial way, that we're going to truly open up the building is by literally removing part of this wall on both sides, the city side and the water side, so that when you're in downtown area and looking in, you'll be able to see through and see the energized central gathering spot and see through to the water. And when you're on the water, you'll be able to look into the project. If you've come over from a great festival at Town Point Park or you've walked over from the ballpark, you'll be able to engage with the building. It was one of the main things we did at the power plant in Baltimore's Inner Harbor to help animate that. That was a hulking brick wall that we opened up and made it an indoor-outdoor experience. We want to open up this building to the city and to the water. And then we want to open it up when you're inside. We're sitting underneath a pretty low ceiling here above us, and our audience is sitting under. It won't be there should we be lucky enough to be selected to develop Waterside Live. We're going to open up a wide swath of the middle area where we want to create that central gathering spot. And then we're going to take the roof, much like we did at 4th Street Live in Louisville, to redevelop their failed mall, the Galleria, and make it a great glass roof. So you'll have an open, wide open glass and open storefront on both sides. You'll have an open soaring store height, 50 feet in the air in the middle of the project, creating a great central gathering spot with great landscaping, furniture, water features, and other elements. And then a glass roof above. It will be a dynamic gathering spot day and night for visitors. This is a bird's eye view, if you will, and it helps me to illustrate the openings that I was just referring to and how it now connects and the connectivity to downtown, to the east and west and to the north and south, both of which I think are vitally important. People have great memories of this building. They remember coming here for terrific times and events. We want to recapture those, but in a new and vibrant way. The water is a public amenity. It should always be treated as a public amenity, and we think our project takes great care in doing so, our proposal that is. The marina is to some degree, an underutilized asset. We'd like to talk about that as well and how that can be made into a bigger asset for the city. You can see the central gathering spot in the middle of the layout, and our different uses circle that gathering spot on the first and second level. And here's a close-up of the plans to give a better iteration. You can see how if it's a restaurant use, a cafe, a bistro, it flows in and out. The walls will literally open up of their storefronts as well with indoor-outdoor seating into the central gathering spot, out to the water. And one of the aspects that I wanted to touch on in this presentation was the area at the top of the plan, which is highlighted in yellow, we envision as a true marketplace. And that's a word that has a lot of history with this project, the word marketplace. Some good, maybe some not as good. But we think that when done the right way, it can be a terrific attraction, daytime, nighttime, after work, and on the weekends. So the area in yellow represents the marketplace idea, and that's kind of the entrance to the project at the city side. And my father just whispered in my ear, I think it's more for our marketing purposes, was to invite everybody here to, we have a grand opening of one of our latest projects, and that's Philly Live. It's at the Stadium Complex, and there's a reason why I'm saying this I'll get to in 1 second, but it's at the Stadium Complex in downtown Philly. It's the only site in North America actually where all 4 professional sports teams exist. And the Eagles and the Phillies and the Flyers brought us in to try to give them a sense of place, because they had these stadiums and then expansive parking. People came for an event and left. It didn't have a feel to it. It didn't have a gathering spot. And they've brought us in. It's a public-private project, and also in partnership with the teams themselves, which will be completed, and the grand opening is later this month on March 30th. We have great national brand names and great concepts that are coming into that. But in the heart of the plate of Philly Live is what we're calling the Philly Marketplace. And we have gone and gone out and gotten some of the iconic Philadelphia names to operate within a marketplace very similar to what we're showing here. So whether it's Nick's Original Roast Beef, which has been in that market for 100 years as a local institution, and this will be the first time they've ever expanded, to Mitchell & Ness, which is a great local retailer, to Chicky & Pete's, which is their leading local sports concept, it has this incredible feel. It will have this incredible feel of a best of Philly marketplace. And it would be a great, I think, example, and definitely invite the entire council and everybody here to come see what it is that we have in mind when I talk about a marketplace for Waterside Live. This is the second level of our proposed Waterside Live. And you can see that as I referenced earlier, that a lot of the second level in the middle area has been removed to create that sense of drama and that sense of place. On the first level beneath that is our central gathering spot. And then we have these great balconies and walkways that circle it. And so it creates a great see and be seen and a great sense of drama to the plan. In purple, one of the recommendations by the consultant group that we really think is a good one is a private event space that can help complement downtown, and that's in purple, and we've dubbed the waterfront, the waterside room for the purposes of this proposal. Some of the uses that we have in mind would actually be 2 levels and would operate on both the first and second level. One of the things that I spoke to, I'm sorry, let me go back to that. One of the things that I referenced earlier in my remarks is that a commitment to quality, and one of the key principles of that is the quality of the tenants, quality of the concepts that make up the development. In our RFP response, you saw commitment letters from a variety of top-notch concepts. Most importantly, what I wanted to reiterate is to show the type of quality we do across the country. In the coming 6 months, I want to speak to some of the tenants, some of the concepts that will be opening in a variety of our projects. The Cheesecake Factory, Bobby Flay with a celebrity chef with a signature restaurant, Phillips Seafood, who opened our power plant project and now is doing a second concept with us. The Mulhauser family in Baltimore, they are a local Maryland family that just got named by Polestar magazine as one of the top live music producers and venue operators in the country, has agreed to do a live music venue with us. Prime Rib, high-end steakhouse, considered one of the, if not the best restaurant in Baltimore, Maryland, Washington, D.C., and Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, has signed with us to do it's their first expansion in 10 years. We'll be doing their 4th unit, and we're working out a deal to expand them potentially nationally into some of our other projects as well. The NBC Sports Arena, which is the first ever of its kind, will be opening in our Philly Live project. I believe it will be the premier sports-themed restaurant in the country. The highlight of it is a 37-foot in diagonal, 6-millimeter high-definition LED screen, and they're bringing all the power of NBC Sports behind it and the personalities and the programming that comes with that. And you team that in a project like Philadelphia with the local operators like the Nick's Original Roast Beef and the Mitchell and Ness and the Chicky and Pete's and the Pat's Cheesesteaks and all those great local operators, you get this great combination. That's how we think a project gets maximized. Those are the type of quality tenants that you can expect from Waterside Live and the types of uses you can expect from Waterside Live, as well as the type of mixture of national, regional, and local. We think that's what does it best. I'm now going to transition a little bit as I talk about some of our other developments as well and reiterate how those relate to Waterside Live. And some images of those projects will flash as I speak. At the conclusion of that, I'll wrap up and be available if there's any questions. We've talked a lot about the commitment to quality, quality tenants, quality design, quality operations. We own and operate all of our projects, and we have incredible dedication to how those are operated. I believe it's why those projects that I referenced that are 15 years old, 14 years old, 18 years old, continue to thrive and be successful. And I think it's a reason why we've been successful in areas where other projects haven't necessarily worked. We absolutely have a firm commitment for reinvestment in the project, and we mandate through our leases that the tenants do as well. So the projects stay fresh, the projects stay vibrant, and they continue to play an important role within the city that they're located. There's no question that we view urban development, I think in a similar way that the city of Norfolk has, that there are no silver bullets. It takes a lot of great developments, a lot of great attractions to create a truly vibrant, growing city. And Norfolk's been done a great job of putting in so many of those building blocks. A live district, one of our types of developments, plays a tremendous role in helping that along and in bringing it to another level. There's no question that people love to live and work near where they can be entertained. There's no question that projects such as what we're talking about have great synergies with the ballpark that you have down the road, with the festival site that you have next door, and with a thriving downtown in general. Our projects have been catalysts in the cities in which they've located. And I think this is a very important point that I speak to a little bit, because when we come to a town, there can be some trepidation from local business owners. Is this just a competitor that might take what we have? And I can assure them by pointing to historical facts that in fact, that absolutely is not the case, and in fact, it's quite the opposite. If you look at the neighborhoods and the business districts that surround us in Baltimore, those would be Federal Hill and Fells Point and Canton, those areas are thriving. If you look at the areas that surround us in Louisville, and by surround us, I mean the greater, right near us and the metropolitan area around us, that would be Main Street and Bardstown Road. Those areas are thriving. If you look at the areas surrounding us in Kansas City, be it Westport or Country Club Plaza, again, not only thriving, but bigger and better than they were before we came to town. We draw from a very wide area. People come and they see us. And they also, as they're coming through town, remember what a great city Norfolk is, see the other parts of Norfolk, and they go and they check those areas out on their next visit. It's a very symbiotic relationship. You have great development in this city and around the city. My father referenced the mall. I'll reference Granby Street. We are an incredible asset to those areas and work in great synergy both to those areas and to the attractions like the ballpark and the other attractions downtown. We're a terrific catalyst for jobs. Our Philly Live project, we just finished hiring over 800 people. It's half the size of what Waterside Live would be. My father referenced, we build out of equity. You're looking at the person that would be working on it day and night with you, and through completion, and stay involved after that. When we say we're going to accomplish something, we roll up our sleeves and we work with the city and with the community, and we get it done, and we'd love to do it here. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thanks, Mr. Porter. Okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. Cordish. Why don't we just take like 60 seconds and let the Lindsay group come up and make their presentation. Do you have a question?
Yeah, I did have one.
Okay, Mr. Cordish, will you take a question?
First of all, I think you made a wonderful presentation.
Thank you, sir.
A couple of things that you mentioned were questions I did have. One had to do with minority participation, which is important. But the other question I had, where do you stand as far as union labor is concerned and maybe Davis-Bacon wages when you do developments?
The answer comes when we look at it on a community-by-community basis. We just are finishing Maryland Live, as my father mentioned, which is a 100% union construction project. We're just finishing Philly Live, as I mentioned earlier. It's a 100% union construction. That is not true of every development that we've done, but it certainly is true in a great number of them. And we would look at that issue with the council and in regards to what the traditions are in Norfolk.
Okay. And I guess the other question that I had, and I would imagine that the city manager and administration, I would imagine, has to do with the marina. There's been a concern that the marina would still, the boaters would still have access to the marina. I don't know whether your development would give you the authority over the marina or whether the city manager would maintain that. And I guess that's one thing that we talk about. Okay.
If we did have rights to it, it would be under the auspices of keeping it open to boaters. I mean, that is the principle of our development, and expanding it. I think it's an underutilized asset and could be expanded and maximized.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I just wanted to ask quickly, is this entirely entertainment? There's no retail?
There can be retail. I believe there'd be some retail within the marketplace, and it's possible for some other retail within the development. The city's just bringing in Urban Outfitters, for instance, on Granby Street. That's an example of a unique, great retailer, and they have a sister concept, Anthropology, that could play a role. They may be in the mall, I'm not sure. But so there is a potential role for retail. However, you've got a terrific mall downtown, and that I think services very well a lot of retail. And so this would be more restaurant, cafe, bistro, experience, and entertainment focused. That would be more the niche.
Were you to choose that, I mean, do you have to have a certain amount of it rented or promised before you decide to go ahead? I mean, I'm curious in this down economy how you can get all these people to come and
We're
agree
fortunate.
to be here.
It's a great question. We're very fortunate in that we've been very successful in creating these developments around the country, so that we have these national companies that say to us, where you go, we want to go. They know that they'll achieve those sales per square foot. It's then up to us to do the legwork to combine them with the best and great local and regional operators. But we've got that base of national concepts that we can call on to help anchor the project.
My question.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Cordish. First, I want to say I thought that was a great presentation, but more importantly for me, as it relates to the financial commitment. So could you tell me a little bit about the financial commitment you're talking about making within this project at Waterside Live?
It's a very good question. And I'll answer with a caveat that it will be a moving target to some degree as the plans develop and evolve. And one thing that I've learned and that we've learned is that moving target never goes down. It always goes up because you're always expanding upon it and say, oh, well, we got to do this, and the next idea, and they're all great ideas and they all cost money. Whatever that target ends up being, that's what we're committing to spend. Whatever it takes, we're going to spend. Our RFP response talked about an initial investment of $26 million of private equity to develop Waterside Live. And then the tenants that we bring in also then layer in a significant level of investment on top of that. But the $26 million will most likely rise. I know it won't fall, but that's our commitment to get it done, whatever it takes.
The other part of it is within this public-private partnership, do you anticipate, or in your response to the proposal, because I have not seen that yet, do you anticipate in that public partnership owning Waterside, or what was your?
We have two options, both of which would be perfectly acceptable to us. One is to take over fee ownership, but the other is to enter into a long-term lease where, in essence, the city maintains ownership and we step into a long-term lease. The advantage of, and look, fee ownership's great. The advantage of a long-term lease vis-a-vis the city is that then the city can put in conditions. Really, regardless of whether it's fee title or a long-term lease, we don't have a problem with that. When we stand up here and we talk about a commitment to quality of design, quality of tenant mix, and execution, those aren't just words. So we're able to put those into documents as well.
And my last part, as a part of your equation, does that include performance grants or, that's one part of it, and then the second part, in terms of tax revenue. I know that deals like this, you anticipate, 7 years, 8 years, or a performer in terms of out years, when you would get up to that level or scale of paying taxes. Do you anticipate a scale of paying taxes or some type of rebate?
Yes, sir. So again, we're not asking for any cash subsidy. We'd be putting in 100% of the equity necessary. That we're asking for and the city would go immediately from a negative situation to a positive because the project would pay taxes from day one. But we are asking for tax help in terms of the incremental taxes that we're creating. It's a sliding scale downward, actually. It starts higher and it slides downward over time.
Okay. And my last question, purely from an architecture standpoint.
I'm sorry.
On your, I know she took that down, but on the second floor, is that balconies?
So it is, because we're removing the wall. We're removing the walls to open it up and creating these balconies.
And you're creating another crossover?
Correct.
Okay, and that would connect to the garage out here?
We're not creating a second crossover to the garage. That's the existing crossover.
Oh, that's okay.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Just to clarify, we would be paying full real estate taxes from day one.
Thank you.
I have one quick question. If you were awarded or chosen, give me a time frame for when you would start construction and how long it would take and when you would open, roughly.
The only question, that I have to ask you first is you have to sign the development agreement. So if we were chosen.
Well, I'm saying for the time you signed that development
Okay.
agreement.
So
Go ahead. That's the only question.
because it's a public-private process, as you know, there's no exact blueprint to it because the process involves bringing in the community to participate. That being said, we have zero obstacles to prevent us from moving at the most efficient manner. We have no financing obstacles. We have every discipline in-house needed to work with the local consultants we hire to get the project done. We have the people, including myself, ready to focus on it. We have, as I referenced earlier to the very good question earlier, we have commitments from tenants right now today. So we have zero obstacles to getting it done. How long does that take from signing of the development agreement? Start and then approximately 6 to 8 months to do the development process, i.e. to do the drawing process, permitting, working with the community group, and then we could commence construction right away. Our proposal is to have a flexible plan so that we can keep businesses that are here, that have leases in place, operating during that time. That's, I think, an important part of our proposal. One of the reasons is they have leases, it's law. The second reason, though, is that we didn't want any obstacles to being able to start. So we think that within being selected, we could commence work within 6 to 8 months and have construction jobs on the ground.
And that would take, this construction job would take how long?
That, in Philadelphia, it took us 11 months to go from starting construction to opening. You know, we started a little less than a year ago and we opened March 30th. So 8 months plus, 6 to 8 months plus 11 months for completion, but you can open things along the way as well.
And the Philadelphia plant, was that a renovation or was that starting from scratch?
Philadelphia was building from the ground up. Power Plant and Power Plant Live, and Houston were all renovations, so it's a mixture.
This casino that'll open June, the first week in June, which is a mammoth project. It's 2,300,000 square feet. We did in 1 year, 3 shifts a day, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and we did it in a year.
Mr. Smeagol, Tommy? Okay.
I just, have you ever heard of the term creative class?
Say that again?
Creative class?
Creative class.
Well, this council has talked about ways that we could attract the creative class to our downtown. And
recruitment and retention.
Right,
yes.
and I'm just wondering, in your proposal, or if you have other projects where you've had success, that you have concepts that have attracted the creative class to come.
I'll give an example. Ernst & Young, Ernst & Young, was in a battle across the country to recruit best and brightest young people. They weren't going into that field for whatever reasons. It wasn't seen as hot in the tech boom. So they chose to locate their corporate headquarters in one of our developments. H&R Block then did the exact same thing in downtown Kansas City. We see office developments sprout up around us in every single instance. In Houston, we've done a lot of them ourselves. In other projects, we've done a lot of the office around us ourselves. But regardless of whether we do it or someone else does, we've seen them come up around. In addition, I mentioned people love to work near these types of projects. They also love to live near these types of projects. So we've also seen residential growth in the downtowns as well. It's a great question.
That is a fabulous question that we really should incorporate in our presentations, and shame on us, because it's the strength of the project. These are an amenity which don't really calculate. In other words, it's a couple 100,000 square feet. It should not have the impact that it does on an entire city, but it does. And it's almost magical. And we can go right across. In San Francisco, we're partners with the San Francisco Giants, a baseball team. We're now attracting, the project we're doing is similar to this, and we've attracted a corporate campus, one of the great new high-tech companies in the country that if I told you everybody here would know the games that they produce, on the internet. They're going to build their corporate campus. And I can go right across it's almost incomprehensible how a couple 100,000 feet can be the amenity that it will be for your existing office buildings, for your new office buildings, for attracting residential downtown. It just works. It becomes the living room. Many of the newspapers around the country refer to our projects, this common area that's open to the public, as the living room of the city. And that's where we're now creating cybersecurity campus on the power plant pier. And it's because that's where the kids want to be. They want to be next to these kinds of attractions so they can, do whatever they do. And it's a great...
When you're in your 70s, everyone in their 40s are kids, so
Okay.
It's only a
I
matter
think
of
that
age.
concludes the questions. Thank you for an excellent presentation.
thank you so much.
We'll take just a couple minutes.
Covered by workers' comp. We get $200 a week.
We'll take, we're going to take a very short break, just a couple of minutes, and then we'll hear from the Lindsay proposal.
They should have gone first.
I thought originally it was.
Yeah.